Hello, I'm Kathryn Mobley, Special Projects Producer at WCSU-FM, 88.9 Jazzy, part of Central State University, an 1890 land-grant institution. You've joined us for a segment of our nationally sponsored Save a Life campaign. It's a year-long project featuring stories about the impact of COVID-19 on African Americans and other minority groups. WCSU-FM and about 24 other HBCU radio stations across the country are participating in this educational initiative funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. During the COVID-19 pandemic at its height, millions of Americans lost their jobs. In Ohio, an estimated 650,000 became unemployed. At one point, African Americans in this state were 3 times more likely to be unemployed than their Caucasian counterparts. According to the latest census, Ohio's population is about 11.8 million. Almost 9.5 million are Caucasians. African Americans make up almost 1.5 million. Now, to help bridge some financial gaps, the federal government passed the CARES Act in March 2020. Out of it came the federal pandemic unemployment compensation, giving recipients an additional $600 per week to people who had already exhausted their state unemployment benefit period. Also out of that act came the pandemic unemployment assistance. Now this gave recipients an additional $300 a week, and it went to individuals who are traditionally not eligible for unemployment insurance, such as freelancers, contractors, or gig workers. But in many states across the country, these funds have been stolen, accounts hacked, citizens catapulted into debt, and state authorities are debating who's responsible. Well, my guest today is an Ohio senator, and she is pushing our state to get back those stolen funds and to give them to their rightful owners. Representing the 11th District, Ohio State Senator Teresa Fedor. Thank you, Senator Fedor, for joining us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
And you are representing the Toledo area, which is in Northwest Ohio, correct?
Yes, correct. Lucas County.
In Lucas County. Senator, by any chance, do you know how many Ohioans have had their benefit money stolen?
Well, I would love to know how many Ohioans have had their benefits stolen, but ODJFS has not released or will not release an official number on the reported account takeovers. And in my office, we alone have heard from over 120 Ohioans who've had their unemployment accounts taken over. And this is just the surface of the issue. I've also talked to a lawyer who has heard from over 500 people when he put out a call to anyone interested in a lawsuit. My staff does not collect demographic information, so I do not have a number on African Americans who've had their accounts taken over. I can tell you that these cases affect Ohioans from all over the state in all walks of life and in every legislative district. We also know that a disproportionate number of African Americans in Ohio have been unemployed due to the pandemic, and this experience may have left them vulnerable to fraud and account takeovers.
Yeah, it's interesting. You describe this incident as account takeovers. Why do you describe it that way?
Well, someone went in and hacked through identity theft an individual's account and were able to change their bank account and routing number just as that individual was getting cleared for that unemployment claim to come through. And that alerts me and everyone else that our system is not secure. We are still vulnerable for hacking. ODJFS originally said that it was the claimant's fault that they clicked on to a phishing link, or they were on an unsecure Wi-Fi. And only about 2 out of that 120 said that they did that. So the majority of the people who are really know what they're doing said that's not what happened. And ODJF sent an email saying, because because ODJFS didn't change it, they're not responsible for paying you. They're not going to pay a duplicate payment. Get a hold of the FBI. If there's a pattern, they may investigate it. And that was it. The end of story.
Senator, do you have any idea of roughly how much money in total has been stolen?
Well, since they haven't given us the number, but the numbers that I'm dealing with, people waited weeks to get their unemployment. So they're owed $8,000, $10,000. It seems to be the really large amounts. So I think it's quite significant. Could be in the millions. We don't know. We know that our system is broken because it's so antiquated. We don't even have a two-step verification process the way we normally know today, that if you changed your account, you would get a text or an email saying, if you changed your account, you know, good. But if you didn't, there may be identity theft. Well, nothing like that happens with this unemployment system. So it's that antiquated. I want to get the money out the door to the people of Ohio and to be treated right.
And who need it, exactly. Now, there in Columbus, there is an Ohio Unemployment Compensation Modernization and Improvement Council. Wow, what a name. Exactly what are you urging them to do?
Well, we are having testimony from the department itself, how it's improving, but we're also having public testimony, even though we had to fight to really get that. We've gathered testimony from all over Ohio, and they've submitted written testimony. A couple people have come forward, but you know, they're sharing their stories of instances of their unemployment experience and how they've truly failed them. I know I'm advocating for ODJFS to compensate the victims of account takeovers now, and I'm happy to say they finally caved in.
So what does this mean? Does this mean people are actually, those who legitimately filed their unemployment claims, they're actually going to receive all the monies back, or is it going to come back in payments? And when will that begin?
They're going to receive all of their payments. Okay. Now the when part, like I said, it doesn't take much to create a form, send it out to the people they already know. You know, I'll give them all my lists of people. We'll put out an all call. You media will have a ball doing this, and get your money. You know, and it's just like the money that was stolen through PUA. You know, you can send your great investigators, the FBI, to go after it, but the point is you've got to make people whole, and the system caused this. The government system caused this because they don't have a two-step verification process in place, and that is shocking in and of itself. And when I asked the council deputy director, you know, or the deputy director of ODJFS, when is that two-step verification process going to be in place? She said sometime in 2022.
Okay. So right now, as it stands, Ohioans who have legitimately filed unemployment claims, they will receive their money, they will get their benefits, but now the question is how to create a process in order to get that money back to them. Okay.
Correct.
According to the Economic Policy Institute, 12% of African Americans in our state are navigating unemployment. About 4% of Caucasians are jobless. Now, for those people who've had their money stolen because of these fraudulent schemes, what should they do while politicians continue to debate how to create this new structure and who's responsible? What should they do?
Well, the first thing I encourage folks to do who had their accounts taken over is to gather the information and to re-secure their account. Typically, I've heard from my constituents that they have been able to identify the fraudster's bank account, like I'd mentioned, and the routing number, record this and notify the bank that this account has stolen their money from ODJFS and that they would like to freeze it. Secondly, I encourage people in this situation to report fraud to the ODJFS. then change your bank account information back to the correct bank, which is not easy, by the way. ODJFS has recommended that victims also report theft to the FBI. And I'll continue to advocate on behalf of all Ohioans who are receiving unemployment. Director Dan Schroeder has confirmed to me that ODJF is working on a process for these victims to receive their payments. It cannot happen soon enough. So the status of the situation is positive, but now we've got to get them to really move responsibly and quickly.
Right. Should individuals get in touch with your office? And if so,
Absolutely.
How do they do that?
Well, they can call my office at 614-644-5204. There's also Fedor at ohiosenate.gov.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much, Senator Fedor, for taking this time to explain to us about this atrocious situation. And we truly appreciate your tenacity on this very, very important issue.
Well, my pleasure, and God bless everyone. Thank you.
Also, learn more about Ohio's coronavirus resources and updates at coronavirus.ohio.org. I'm Kathryn Mobley, Special Projects Producer for WCSU-FM. This is a segment of our nationally funded Save a Life campaign. Thank you for joining us, and be well.